Yeah, like I'm saying, keep those dates in mind. Now, as far as David Hunter, right? He had started it was around April 13th, 1862. That's when he started enlisting blacks into a regiment that he termed the First South Carolina Color Regiment. By the 20, no, actually he made them. Yeah. That's when he started. That's when he started doing that. I think by the 25th, I want to say he made it known. So I don't think he was just saying that they're just countrymen. That was already established. But on May 9th, that's when he issued order number 11 and stated that, okay, these people, any black person basically that were coming from the side of the Confederates within the states of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, they will be considered from that point on forever, simply because of the rebellion and the fact that being that they rebelled, that means martial law is also issued. I spoke on that before in chapter 1. That started with Annapolis, Philadelphia, etc. So that's what he further declared, right? So then Abraham Lincoln found out about that, and he had that rescinded or not eventually. That's what David Hunter. So you're talking about 1862. Now going further, now you're going back to Robert Smalls and this reverend visiting Port Royal and then asking Robert Smalls to go and have a meeting with him, with Abraham Lincoln, and also being encouraged by who? David Hunter himself. So within the midst of this meeting, that's where Abraham Lincoln finally said, okay, well, you can have, I want 5,000, man. I'm going to make it to where he put Rufus Saxton in charge of that, just like he did. He did with the 40 acres of the mule for those for 40,000 black people in those 3 states. But because I don't want my phone to keep cutting off, so I'm trying to hurry up and get through this. So he put Rufus Saxton in charge of that. He said 5,000 men. That's when the First South Carolina Color Regiment was reestablished. Okay, this time, and then later the Second South Carolina Regiment, also just like the Louisiana Native Guards, you have more enlistees, and then later on they ended up becoming named the 33rd Color Regiment or whatnot. But as far as like this period, that's when Lincoln, he signed it. He made it possible exactly on, that's a lot of noise, August the 25th. All right. Now, going back to John Charles Fremont. Okay, he started his escapades in that same direction a year earlier. He was placed on July 31st, 1861, the head of what they call the Department of the West. And many of those, quote unquote, Western states consisted of what? Illinois, even though it's the Midwest, but anyway, still, it's talking about the landmass and all that. Because you still got other things that play too, like California now. Come on now, 1850. But anyway, Illinois, Missouri, Western Kentucky, and then New Mexico or whatnot. So eventually, let me see, I think the very next month, it was the 25th actually when Abraham Lincoln signed those papers allowing the 1st Carolina Regiment to come back into being. That was 5 days before this. So as far as April 30th, that's when John Fremont, but definitely Mr. Fremont, made a declaration. Him on the 30th, that any slave in the state of Missouri was considered free at that point, basically. Lincoln found out about that. He also had that rescinded. I'll make sure I'm not mixing it. This is 1861. I don't know why I keep saying 62, confusing it with David Hunter. But the whole point is Lincoln had that rescinded August 30th, right? So then, the next month, September 11th, he had it rescinded. And then a month after that, in October, he had Mr. Fremont removed or whatnot. And then the following month after that, in November, he had the Department of the West completely disbanded or whatnot. Now, one of the reasons, based on what I read, is because Lincoln was supposedly afraid because of Missouri, for example. Like I said, you had pockets of, Confederate factions in some of these states, of course, just like Virginia, for example. You always had like a Union presence in certain areas too. As far as Missouri, Missouri was one of those 4 states, a part of the Union still, that actually still had slavery a part of their institution. And it was a concern that if a move like that would deter them and they'll end up joining the Confederacy. But shit, I'm looking at the population list, right? And I'm like, okay, overall, all them 4 states, I mean, it's still a lot. All of them together constituted like what? Almost 500,000. It's basically between 450 and 500,000 slaves in total. Starting with what? Delaware. I think Delaware had 1,900. I know, see, Delaware, 1,900. I'm going to say, and if I'm correct, if I'm incorrect, I just corrected in the title or something. Delaware, 1,900. Kentucky, about 87,000. Missouri, about 144,000. And I think Maryland, about 250,000 slaves or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? However, what about South Carolina? A year later with David Hunter. Wouldn't it make sense to go ahead and keep that sustained? You get what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you take advantage of that if that's gonna turn out like if that's a thorn still? You wouldn't have to. I don't think you would have to. It's hard for me to explain. I'm put it like this. Granted, in Washington, D.C. itself, Lincoln freed the slaves there exactly in April of 1861. Yet, he didn't free the slaves, or he rescinded those orders to have them free the slaves. And again, one of the concerns is that Missouri is a state, a part of the Union, basically, out of those 3 other states that still had slaves. But South Carolina